Looking good, honey. Keep up the bad work.
At annual meetings of those companies. Now it makes sense? It's not these poor CEOs that were bashing and trashing. They didn't do anything. They're just reporting to their boss who owns 24.9% of the votes. They get to impact their weighting. God, imagine you're sitting in this board, right? And they're like, well, here's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about making something to target to get more families to come by and make a drink for veterans because we kind of want to do this. No, we're going to do this. And if you guys go against this, we can't fund your this. What do you think? Well, I'm kind of going with these guys. I still want my job. What do you think? You were with me when we talked yesterday at dinner, and you said it was a good idea. I don't know what dinner you're talking about. I'm going to go. Why? He doesn't want to get fired. You don't think these types of things happen behind closed doors? What do you think? What do you think? When you have this kind of control, what do you think happens? You have to be naive to think it doesn't happen. These three firms control roughly 80% out of about $4 trillion in total ETF assets. So if they sold you and you're watching this, you're like, yeah, but Pat, the whole thing with ESG is environmental. Aren't they trying to make the environment? The whole purpose is to make the world a better place so the planet's going to be around longer. No, isn't that what it's about? Well, maybe. That's what they say, but let's see if that's what they do. In December of 2021, Bloomberg found that only one of 155 ESG upgrades of S&P 500 companies cited an actual cut in emissions as a factor. Oh my God. 1 in 155. But listen, ESG, what we're doing is environmental, social, and governance. We're trying to make the world a better place so you can last longer and live longer than your kids and the planet and all this stuff. Oh, really? Yeah. Show it to me with action. 1 out of 155. Yeah, you're full of shit. I don't believe you. That's kind of how the average person, after they look at the numbers, is going to say, I have a hard time believing these guys are doing it for a good cause. Okay, so as if this ESG stuff wasn't enough, have you guys heard about DEI or CEI? Maybe you've heard about it, you don't know a lot about it. Too many acronyms, I'm with you, but let's take a look at this as well. So, DEI and CEI take over corporate America. According to justcapital.com, as of 2023, 94% of employers and 74% of workers say that their organization has made a commitment to advancing DEI in their workplace. Compared to 2021, only 32% of companies required some form of DEI training for their employees. You're talking about 94% of employers, and just 2 years ago was 32% of companies require some sort of DEI training. This thing's becoming a phenomenon right now. It's cool to say we have a DEI and a CI training. I think we even fell for it like 6 years ago or 5 years ago at first, thinking this was a good cause. Okay, so DEI and CI take over in corporate America. There's a few things we need to know about. First, before I give you the stats here, which is absolutely wild. Okay, so DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, refers to organizational frameworks which seek to promote the fair treatment and full participation of all people, particularly groups who have historically been underrepresented or subject to discrimination on the basis of identity or disability. So, sounds like a noble cause, right? Now let's look at CEI. CEI stands for Corporate Equality Index, which is the national benchmarking tool on corporate policies, practices, and benefits pertinent to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer employees. Which is kind of wild now, because now with the CEI score, if let's just say I'm a 22-year-old kid, just got out of college, I'm working for an S&P 500 company, 379 are participating in the CEI score, 138 is their first year ever. What do you think they're doing to employees like you and I for working there? What do I have to bite for? What language do I have to use? What can't I use? Now, here's what's a little wild. When you think about social media sites for business, there's only one of them you think about. You think about LinkedIn, right? Even LinkedIn wrote an article about how this DEI could be a bad thing for business. Here's what it had to say. 7 ways your DEI initiatives are harming your company and how to resolve it. Number 1, DEI is discriminatory. Can you imagine? It is discriminatory. It's LinkedIn saying this. Number 2, DEI unnecessarily preferences physical attributes over the non-physical. Number 3, DEI diminishes the size of the talent pool. Number 4, DEI decreases performance. Number 5, DEI is divisive. Number 6, DEI diminishes accomplishments and disincentivizes performance. Number 7, DEI is distracting. Says LinkedIn. LinkedIn article, 4 ways to resolve it. Number 1, close the DI office altogether. Number 2, eliminate diversity quotas. Number 3, hire, promote on merit. Number 4, cease all diversity training programs and reinvest that time and money to upskill employees. Little crazy, little wild, little dark, little no common sense. It just doesn't make any sense what these guys are doing here. By the way, do you know what the top 5 best ESG score companies are? Number 5, drum roll, Bank of America. I am surprised. Number 4, Salesforce. Number 3, Microsoft. Bill and Melinda Gates. Anyone surprised? I'm not surprised. Number 2, Intel. And number 1 highest ESG score is a company many say that supports the government, is a company called Alphabet, hence Google has the highest ESG score. Do you want to take a wild guess which companies have the lowest ESG score? These are anti-establishment companies. You think Tesla has a high ESG score? Can you imagine? Tesla does more to actually help with emissions, but they have a medium score. They're not impressive. They're right in the middle out of all the automobile companies. Out of 81 automobile companies, they're ranked 41. And they're doing more than all these other guys. Twitter, not the best score. Fox Nation, Fox News, not the best score. Xerox, not the best score. AT&T, not the best score. These are at the bottom. I wonder why. Because they're not caving into these ridiculous policies that these guys are coming up with that cost Target $9 billion, that cost Bud, Anheuser-Busch, $15.7 billion. I tweeted this the other day, and I'll explain 3 points I talked about why this doesn't work. Lesson 4, Fortune 500 company CEOs and CMOs. Number 1, screw your ESG score. Instead, focus on keeping your best customers happy. Number 2, you can't please both the ESG community and your best customers at the same time. Attempting to do so will cost you both. Number 3, it's time for the board to fire the CEO and the entire marketing team. You know what the problem with that is? The board will gladly fire them because they're ESG people, because they own 24.9% of the board seats in the first place. Make sense? This is kind of weird to say fire them and don't fire them. They're probably not going to fire these guys because they're doing exactly what they want them to do, but in an ideal situation of capitalism, not controlled by some UN PRI score, those guys would get fired. Number 4, bad ideas have consequences. And number 5, capitalism works, pandering doesn't. Either go into politics and sell your ideas, or run a company knowing your number 1 customer is us, then people that work for you, then these nonsense people out of UN and ESG and BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street that control you. You work for them, and the world is starting to realize it. Don't you want to be free? If you do, maybe talk about it so the rest of the world can realize what it's like to be so afraid, shivering of your ESG, DEI, and your CI score. Anyways, if you got value from the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't watched a video I did on George Soros, who George Soros is, and another one having to do with Hollywood, both of them are linked to ESG. If you've not watched the Hollywood story of what they're doing with ESG, definitely watch this. If you want to know who is really the man George Soros, click here to watch this one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.